Okay, here we go for a reaction. Now, this lady over here, her name is Katie Hopkins, and I really like Katie Hopkins, generally speaking. She is a lovely and funny lady. I'm also going to premise this with another thing as well. I have lived in the United Kingdom for about 3 years, and I've worked there. And I have never, ever in my entire life met any people that are funnier than UK people. Now that to me is very, very important. If you're funny, you improve my day. If you improve my day, I owe you. Now she is. That's important because right now the UK is not really the UK, is it? Hasn't been the UK for a very long time now. It's kind of sad for numerous reasons, but in particular, the one thing that bothers me the most about the UK is that UK people aren't the UK people I met when I first went there. Well, however long it was ago, 15 years ago, I don't know. I would need to check. Almost 20. Anyway, you know, confident people, strong people, funny people, and especially irreverent people. Now, I have no idea how irreverent people get the tyrannical government that they have right now. And by right now, I don't mean right now, as in Labour. It doesn't matter. The side of the government does not matter at all. The side. There's no side. They're all the damn same. The Tories do Labour policies, the Labour do Labour policies. So, I mean, and that may sound like I'm on the other side. I'm not. I'm on a completely different side. I'm on the side where I think firmly that all government is the enemy. And, or most of it anyway. All government is an exaggeration, but pretty close. So, you know, I believe Hopkins shares a fair bit of my position on this. So, let's see what she has to say. She's talking about some case that I'm actually not familiar with. And she refers to a different case that I'm also not familiar with. So there's a lot I don't know. But it doesn't much matter, because what I'm interested in is the principles. So, let's see what she has to say.
Next up, we'll move to Lawrence Fox, the case and contempt of court. You will be done for contempt of court if you talk about any ongoing case. So
this is already fascinating, right? There is such a thing as a crime called contempt of court. I would have thought that contempt has to do with freedom of thought. I can have a heck of a lot of contempt of court if I feel contempt for the justice system, which is entirely possible to do if you think that justice is not delivered. Now, of course, that is in the eye of the beholder to some extent, and that's what courts are supposed to solve. So there is some degree of justification in that, I suppose, organizationally and practically. But it doesn't mean I can't have an opinion. Now, presumably, it's impossible to have an opinion and share that opinion if a court case is ongoing. Okay, well, court is an arm of government. What if I have contempt of government? Can I have that? Let's see what she does now, because she's going to essentially talk about the case, obviously, around it. Now, once again, I don't know anything about the case per se.
Obviously, we're not going to talk about any ongoing case at all. We're going to imagine that I posted a picture of my beaver, and we're going to imagine that I encourage people directly online to share pictures of my beaver. We're going to think that I said, here's my beaver, look, I've got it out, why don't you all share it? In fact, I encourage you to share it.
Madam, that is a lovely beaver. It is even modern and pink in the coloration of its fur. There is a great example of the British wit and the British humour that I have not found in any other people. No offense to any other people, but sorry, you guys can't compete.
And what would happen then is if someone posted pictures of my beaver, they could be charged with a sex offence, because it's now a sex offence to post pictures of someone else's beaver, even though I posted the picture of my beaver myself and I encouraged you to share it. So this is the part of the conversation.
I'm doing it right now, madam. You're welcome. Glad to be of service.
Where people try to rationalise. And that's the basic level commentary we've seen a lot of. But why would Lawrence Fox be charged? All he did was post a picture of Katie's beaver that she already posted herself. Rational, rational, rational. Surely if someone posts a picture and other people share it and someone else took the picture, surely they're the problem, not the That's rational. You can't...
Yes, it is. Okay, so what I'm deducing from this is that some male individual posts a picture of something raunchy, I'm presuming, and now he's being done legally for something by someone, but it doesn't sound like he's been taken to court. Maybe I should have gathered information about this. Doesn't matter. I'm reacting on the fly. Live with it.
Cannot rationalise the irrational. I hear your rational commentary, but you are missing the point entirely. I'm sure you have good intentions. You're utterly missing the point. And maybe you're going to try a legal rationale for this, right? So I've posted a picture of my beaver, someone else has reposted it. You're going to tell me that under clause 66A of the Sexual Offences Acts of 2003, which was amended in 2023 to include cyber flashing, you're going to quote that at me. The law says this is an offence because of the 2023 amendment about cyber flashing. Again, I hear you. You're trying to rationalise this.
I'm not, but okay. I understand your point. So what you're saying is you're going after the principle. That is exactly what I want from all of my videos. So let's see.
You're using convoluted art form, which is the law.
I need to look this up. Is convoluted a word? Convoluted I knew, but convoluted I've never heard. Blimey.
Can be interpreted any which way, in whichever way the law decides to see it on that day, which is why no one ever can give you a yes or no answer about the law. And you're going to try and rationalise it that way. Please bear in mind, I have no time for that kind of commentary either. I hear it, I see it, I understand it, and I think it's a load of old crap. It's just basically a way of trying to get people who are absolutely conditioned to be controlled, to be in agreement with the control mechanisms that are being used against them.
Yes, okay, I can see that. Okay, I've just checked real quick. No, convoluted doesn't exist. I think she meant to say convoluted. Okay, fair enough. Now it makes some sense. Now, ironically, I've been somewhat distracted by the fact that I was looking this up, but I was hearing with the back of my ear this thing. And yes, I agree with her point. Whenever people start rattling off either data or law X or law Y, like let's bear in mind that it's politicians who write laws. Okay, but I don't think they do. Let's say it this way: it's politicians that actually sign laws that they didn't write, and we're talking about thousands upon thousands upon thousands all the time. Laws, like politicians, are the worst people in the world. Like, I mean, pretty damn close. They lie as a default position of anything they do. At best, they must compromise. This is the best position they could possibly have. Like, even ideologically, they're terrible. These are the worst people that exist, politicians. Right? Even the reluctant ones will very quickly become corrupted by the level of power they wield. Okay? So these are the people that write the laws. The fact that a law exists doesn't make a law just. These two are very different.
So what I really need people to do is stop trying to do this weird rationalising things, because you can't really rationalise pictures about my beaver that I did or did not want shared. Let's take a step back. It's a Metropolitan Police matter now, right? So whoever, let's just say, was sharing a picture of my beaver, it's become a Metropolitan Police matter. 11 months they've spent looking into my beaver and whether it should or should not have been seen online. I'd argue my beaver should never be seen online, but actually it's been on the front page of the newspaper, so there's that. Regardless.
Oh, I didn't know that. Condolences, I guess.
Zoom out and let's talk about the Metropolitan Police, shall we? Let's have a little look at the mission of the Metropolitan Police.
I don't know what that is.
More trust, less crime, high standards. So the mission of the Metropolitan Police More trust, less crime, high standards.
One thing that's really cool about the English as well is that they count backwards. Where I'm from, we do this. But they do it the other way. Do this. I like it. I had to get used to this when I was there. Sorry, a side that is completely pointless. Carry on.
Now, we won't just rip that apart for a moment because that would be facile. I mean, to talk about the rapist and the paedophiles inside of the Metropolitan Police, to talk about rapists and sexual offenders inside the Metropolitan Police, some of whom kept their jobs after being found out to be sexual offenders.
Beautiful. So I obviously have no idea if what she's saying is true, but it's very likely because the moment in which you are in a position of power, in order for you to be admitted into a position of power as an individual, presumably you have been vetted, right? Now you have been vetted with the concept and idea that you are effectively speaking superior to other people. Superior morally, superior logically, superior in principles primarily. That would be the idea, because if you are going to be given power that you can then wield, presumably you must be capable of using that power in a way that is responsible. However, the problem with power as a general thing is that it enables you to be in some aspect above the law, conceptually, right? And therefore you are capable of acting in ways that other people can't, because you're the person who is monitoring that. You are the controller of your own self. The famous checks and balances that the Americans harp on about. And the issue is, whenever you have power, it is my personal opinion, you are much more likely to be tempted into acting in a way that is very, very, very much non-congruent with the principles. So I think this is kind of what she's talking about. And then obviously that entity needs to protect its reputation with the people. The only fundamental element that I think exists that gets government to be completely paranoid is the fact that the people may in fact refuse to participate. I believe this is the direction we are going to, and I think it's going to be very Gandhian. It's going to be very peaceful. There's going to be a point, hopefully, in which even the flock is going to say, nah, just as a default position to anything. Every question ever asked is going to be, no. Let's go to war with this. No. Let's go help the Ukraine. No. Why won't you pay taxes? We need it for this, that, the other. No. I hope that in my lifetime, though I doubt it, this occurs. This is the only thing I think fundamentally government is afraid of. Therefore, it is entirely possible that Department X, Metropolitan Police in this case, has scandals within itself that it hides to maintain this reputation. Because if the reputation is tarnished, like Hopkins is doing right now, then their own authority is as well. That is the fundamental element of balance now. If that's absent, then you have an open tyranny. Now, I think nowadays all civilians, myself included, live in tyrannies. They're not completely open. They're close to almost open. But they're not quite open. They're still a facade. And anyway, so she is sarcastically remarking on the fact that the inspector entity, it requires just as much inspection. They are the dirty ones. Let's see. There won't be, obviously, that's silly. But they will have corrupt agents within, without question.
Inside the Metropolitan Police, we don't even need to go there. We can ask the question, let's just say the Metropolitan Police had spent 11 months investigating my beaver on Twitter. We could ask ourselves, could we not, is that more trust, less crime, high standards? Would looking into my Twitter account and pictures of my beaver be in accordance with a mission of more trust, less crime and high standards? And could you tell me how it helps with less crime. And bear in mind, you can't just set that against, it's not a sort of binary thing. You know, here's a tweet featuring my beaver or there's zero crime. It's against a backdrop of London where there's more crime and unsolved crime than in any time in modern history.
Sorry, I'll interrupt her now. She's a bit like me. She never stops talking. So I need to interrupt her rudely. I do apologize. By the way, I meant that as a positive thing. It's not... She doesn't stop talking because she has a lot to say. And she's very eloquent. Incorrect words set aside. So, right, I'm distracting my own self now. So, what she's saying here, in a bit of a roundabout way, you know, the Brits, they're very fond of roundabouts. She is saying that there is a problem with the definition of the word crime at the moment. That's what she's saying. She's saying it in a strange way, but yeah, because the issue is basically that the Metropolitan Police, this entity, is spending resources, time, well, I mean, the two are synonyms really, in looking into something trivial and relatively unimportant. Well, I just said that. I need to rephrase that. Trivial and harmless. That's what I mean to say. Harmless. I mean, it might be uncouth. It might be visually unpleasant. It might be blasphemous, even. For the British government, this seems to become a thing now. They are religious zealots, right? The religion isn't any one of the ones we know. It's some other religion that nobody really understands, but we are all supposed to believe that. Yes, and agree. We don't. Loads of people don't, right? A picture of a beaver, whether it be stuffed or live, I don't think is that important. One may find it disgusting as well, but it certainly doesn't constitute a crime per se. Now, there is a law that may say that it does, and that's very much her point. But it isn't a crime. None of these are crimes. The concept of law and the word law itself, Orwellianly, have been hijacked to mean something entirely different, which is rule, or regulation, or blasphemy. That is why I use the term myself. Right now in the United Kingdom, you can say a thing, and if that thing is deemed bad enough, you absolutely can do jail time. See Count Dankula's case. That is rather incredible for the nation that invented speech and irreverence of it. And the lack of reverence for authorities. That is Britain. That is the soul of Britain. The soul of Britain is flipping not one finger but two to the people in authority. This, I would argue, is the Brit. Where is the Brit? Where have you gone? I miss you. It's kind of sad that a bird and her beaver need to be the representative of the Brit, while the Brit rejects her. What are you doing, you utter fool? I don't know who you are. I'm looking right at you, Adrian. Whatever your name is. Doesn't matter. John Smith. She makes a very good point. She makes it strangely, but she makes a very good point. Which is, none of these are crimes. And there's real crimes out there. Very, very serious ones that the United Kingdom is supposed to be dealing with. That are rampant. To the point where people leave. Do you know, when I was in the UK at one point, I found a job in the Midlands. And I was looking for a home near Leamington Spa. An apartment to rent or something like that. It was just me and my wife at the time. We hadn't had any children just yet. And one of the places I was looking to potentially go to was a city called Coventry. Now, I have never felt more unsafe in my life than going to visit an apartment to rent in Coventry. I remember we were being driven around by the realtor, who had this baby blue Jag, which wasn't really a Jag. It's when Jag was owned by Ford. One of those like retro looking Jags. I'm sort of warmed up to their look as of late. Probably a V6 or something. I don't know. Anyway, he was driving us around in that thing, and it looked so completely out of place. When we arrived to this apartment that we were supposed to look at, we walk through its entrance, and there's a bunch of what would be the word? What was it? Enoch Powell used the term pickaninnies. I do not know if that's offensive or not, but there's lots of them. And I don't know if that gets my video taken down also, but whatever. So, I mean, I suppose it gives the Metropolitan Police something to do, doesn't it? Or the YouTube police. Anyway, and they were looking at us really menacingly, with my wife being quite pregnant at the time. She was like 5 months in or something. I'm not sure. Maybe I got the time wrong. Whatever, she was pregnant. And we then walked all the way up. There was no elevator, and the apartment was absolutely disgusting. It was terrible. It was like a portal in the third world. And I was like, this can't be Britain. This is impossible. So we immediately left. And then we went to a nearby village, a village called Kenilworth. And in Kenilworth, there was a high street. There was a cathedral. There's a castle as well. And it was this idyllic British place covered in its 50 shades of brown and dark green of damp, excessively watered vegetation. These brick homes contrasting with this orange, damp everywhere. And as the sun was, peeking out in the morning, the old ladies would walk around with a newspaper under their arm. It felt like being transported 20, 30 years back into what Britain must have been. And still was, just as I spent some time there. And that's where we got, that's where we rented an apartment. We didn't rent it in Coventry. Now that, in Coventry, wasn't crime, but it was darn close. We felt like we were going to be assaulted. Whereas in Kenilworth, there was none of it. There were just old ladies walking about, probably being sarcastic with one another because they're British after all. Probably planning on watching some old tapes of a bit of Fry and Laurie to get their irreverent valve to express itself. Yeah, that's real crime, though. And that was, I wasn't that philosophically aware at the time, or so I suppose pensive as I am now, but that was one of the occasions in which you would go, oh yeah, Enoch Powell's speech makes perfect sense now, because all of this is leading towards what she's saying, which in my opinion is one of the biggest issues of today, which is the authorities are busy stopping the absolute flood that is wrongthink. But crime is neglected. Crime is there, doing its thing, potentially entering positions of power. Real, tangible, practical crime. Violence and all of that. Violence, scams, fraud, theft. The government is the primary engager in theft, so just legalize it, you're good, right? Oh, what a lovely way to reconnect to my initial point, which is if the person writing the laws is a criminal, the laws are criminal. Now, if I have contempt of court, or contempt of government, like I said, and contempt for the law at that point, am I wrong? Does being right or wrong even matter anymore? It does to me, and I think it does to her.
And people are having machete fights in the street or raiding primary schools with machetes. That's the backdrop. So does looking into pictures of my beaver actually rate at all over 11 months investigation for online pictures of my beaver when London's going to shit? That would be a more zooming out one level. And then here's where it gets interesting, I think.
Ooh, let's hear it.
So let's say that because I've shared pictures of a beaver online, I'm going to be charged with a sex offence. And it's important here whether we use plural or whether there's one or two. Mainstream media should be aware of that, but it won't matter, of course, because if you're someone like me, it doesn't really matter what's fact or not fact, because when you're the monster, the law, the media can apparently treat you any which way they want. But let's just say you're going to be charged with a sex offence. Well, that can mean that you're going to be on the sex offenders register. it could mean you're going to get 2 years in prison. And what does that actually mean? Well, that is the outcome, isn't it?
Yeah, isn't that fascinating? Because the law is now being applied, of course, as she and I think incorrectly, wrongly, right? Real, very real consequences may apply. If sharing a picture that, let's say, is lewd, okay, produces, falls under the purview, the milieu, the paradigm of a sex offense, well, that makes you a sex offender, does it not? So we're all sex offenders right now for sharing a picture of Katie's beaver. Are we? Once again, British irreverence doing its job here of accusing and pointing out the nonsense of this.
Because that would mean, let's say it's me, because I've been using pictures of my beaver that I shouldn't have been. Let's just say I'm going to get charged with a sex offence. Let's say that means my name is now Katie Hopkins, could be a sex offender. I could be put on the sex offenders register, and I could be put in prison for 2 years. And so what will probably happen is I'll have like a 12-month suspended sentence.
Imagine what would happen if you had your poodle do a Roman salute. What would happen then? 6 months, I'm afraid, or however long it was. Vomit inducing.
And what that will mean is I am controlled, because I have that sentence hanging over me. If I'm put on the sex offenders register, that means I can be controlled about where I can be and when, and who says I can be where. And probably I have to apply for permission from someone in order to be somewhere. Suddenly, I can be even more controlled. And if we think about this, just briefly referencing Lawrence, but obviously talking about my example, not the contempt of court that could be had if you talk about his case.
Isn't it beautiful how she needs to talk in circles to avoid being accused with an unjust law? I think this is where I should leave it. I mean, do go and listen to this video or watch this video because I think it's useful. I mean, I still have no idea what she's talking about, but the principle stands. Specifically, I mean, the principle stands. Sorry, Britain, you're dead.